I think also in this situation, there are two aspects. One related to the fact that as a woman, sometimes, luckily, not always, but sometimes I feel compelled to behave like the good girl. So the good girl is not blunt, is not impolite. She's always taking care of the feelings of people around her, etc. Not useful. Not useful at all. Especially in a male-dominated business.
Yeah.
It's I don't recommend it.
Yeah, no, and especially like if we want to be change makers, we have to be ready to challenge the status quo. An enormous welcome to season 2 of the Power Talks. Thank you so much for being here. From my heart, I'm really grateful that you pressed play today. You're very, very welcome here. So this podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of female leaders who speak English as their second, third, fourth, fifth language. I want to raise consciousness around what power looks and sounds like. Ultimately, what power can be. I'm interested in examining the blocks and the barriers that women experience when it comes to expressing power, authority, expertise, and how that intensifies when we add English. And I'm also interested in how we can break through those blocks, break through those barriers, let go of inherited limitations, and learn to connect to personal power, and from that place, skillfully communicate and therefore lead with absolute authenticity. So I have some incredible guests this season. I'm really excited. Thanks again for being here, and let's go. My first guest on season 2 of the Power Talks is Manuela Pagella. Manuela is an executive with an extensive experience in the energy and utility sector. She specialises in innovation, corporate reorganization, and change management. So over the years, she has held key roles in various companies and industries, leading strategic initiatives to achieve corporate goals. So she has a passion for volunteer work, which has led her to become one of the executive directors of the board of Sistema Italia. Sistema Italia is a non-profit organisation committed to promoting the practice of adaptive leadership in Italy. She's also a very proud member of European Women on Boards, another non-profit international organisation dedicated to promoting gender equality in decision-making processes. She co-founded the Italian chapter, and she is a member of the Membership and Partnership Committee. She believes firmly in the importance of change management and works daily to ensure that the organisation she's responsible for becomes as adaptive as possible and ready to face new challenges. And I want to just start, maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about you, but more like what I want to know, Manuela, is what is it that motivates you in life, right? That's the main thing.
Well, I think that I'm very passionate about change. It's weird, but I know from experience, from life, I would say that change is inevitable. You can't avoid change. What you can do about change is using it as an opportunity to grow professionally, personally, etc. So when I think about my purpose, I think about how can I help people change, help myself change, of course, but help people change, help them see not only what they are losing, but also what they are gaining in the future, what the change is going to bring them as a positive outcome. Maybe it's difficult to see it, especially when you are in the middle of change. And so what I try to do with my team and with the people around me is to help them.
Yes, brava.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting, because I think for people, change can be quite traumatic sometimes, you know, and if you can find a way to accompany them through that, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think that everything starts from acknowledgement of the fact that people are missing something, or they are losing something, maybe some of their DNA through this stage. So it's important to acknowledge that and to be close to this, let's say, sadness, or to the emotions that come from this situation. So at first, let's start with that, and then we'll manage. But it's important for people, for me, at first, to acknowledge this in order to make this experience count as formative, I would say.
And so now I'm going to jump in with questions about what it is to be a woman speaking English as your second language. But we'll start with the language first, right? So when you are speaking in English as your second language in professional environments, how does that influence or affect the way that you communicate?
Well, in my mother tongue, I feel more capable to convey nuances, and I feel more effective also in the use of idioms or of wordplays. This helps me also in building relationship with the people I'm working with.
Okay.
And so when I'm speaking in English as a second language, this is missing. Even if I practice a lot, I listen to podcasts, I watch movies, read books, etc. And so I try to enlarge my vocabulary also by getting to know idioms as well, for example. But sometimes it's not enough. And so I perceive myself just like I'm a rude robot, because I can't convey what I try to do in Italian, in my mother tongue. So and so my fear is to be perceived as blunt or unpolite because of this. And it affected, especially in one of my last projects. I had to carry out some strategic negotiations, and I think that in negotiation, being perceived as rude or impolite, it's not that effective, I would say.
Sure.
But negotiation aside, even in my mother tongue, I am straightforward and very direct. And I think that this can help when we talk about authority, because you convey authority if you are direct. You give directions, orders, and so your authority is pretty clear. But to me, it's important to lead a group of people towards a direction, not to make them go there through authority, but to lead them. And to lead people, you have to build trust. If you are speaking in English as a second language and you perceive yourself, or you think you are perceived as a rude robot, it's hard to build trust or to build a relationship that can be useful for the final result. So to lead people to get there. So this is to me an aspect that I used to be very careful of. I try to, but of course I know that something is missing since English is not my first language.
And that's something that you still feel now at this stage, or do you feel like you have enough, like, I'm sure you have more than enough coping strategies, no, to deal with that, or
it's something that I learned in time, of course.
Yeah.
But if I think about my career as a non-native English speaker, I think work related, this has been an issue for me. So I'm trying to cope, as you said.
It's having strategies, isn't it? I think it's having strategies in place, and interesting. It's interesting though that like how we perceive ourselves, no, like the perception that we have of ourselves, like, and I wonder if I spoke to the people that you are interacting with, if they would see that as well, or if they would say, no, she's amazing. Because I think sometimes that's like the you know, the way that women, I think that's quite a female thing in a way, though, to have these ideas about ourselves that might not be true, you know.
And related to that, I have this perfectionist that lives inside of me, and she doesn't pay rent, so I would like to.
She needs to go.
She needs to go. But especially if I'm speaking with native speakers, it happens to me to freeze.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, actually. If there has been moments when you felt blocked or frozen, if that's happened.
Yeah, especially with let's say English speakers, native English speakers. It happens to me that even if I know that, let's say, an idiom is correct or a way of saying something is correct, I freeze and maybe I try another way of saying the same thing. It happened 2 weeks ago. I was going to deliver bad news, and I was starting with, I'll cut to the chase in my mind. I'll cut to the chase. No. I froze and I said, okay, I'll be very straightforward. That was because even if I was pretty confident that was the way of saying it.
Yes, yeah.
It's
in
like
this
perfectionist, the anxiety of performing is different if I'm among English as a second language speakers or with native speakers, and that's I think very related to the female aspect of my experience. Yeah, for sure. I'm sure of that. Yeah, that's I hear that a lot. No, that there's that just that little tiny seed of doubt that it might not be right, and so then women don't say it, you know. So the example here that Manuela gives is it's minor, right? And she found another way to say what she wanted to say. I do worry though that the perfectionist disease, let's say, it does prevent women from saying more important things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Please feel free to comment about that below. So when it comes to your experience as a woman within your industry as well, because you're working in a very male dominated environment. Does being a woman influence and affect the way that you communicate? Like, how does that play out for you in your spaces? Well, I think also in this situation there are two aspects. One related to the fact that as a woman, sometimes, luckily, not always, but sometimes I feel compelled to behave like the good girl. So the good girl is not blunt, is not impolite. She's always taking care of the feelings of people around her, etc. Not useful. Not useful at all. Especially in a male-dominated business. Yeah. It's. I don't recommend it.
And especially like if we want to be change makers, we have to be ready to challenge the status quo. And good girls, like good girl, you know, the classic good girl profile, she is there to harmonize, no, to keep everything as it is at the moment. And if we want to actually affect change, we're going to have to, I work on this quite a lot with clients now, it's conditioning. At the end of the day, it is conditioning. We're wired, we've been trained for centuries to be like that. And where we are now, as we're moving into the boardrooms, we have to know when to use that and when not to. Like, it can't be automatic pilot, right? It can't be an automated response to something. We have to be able to go, no, that is my conditioning, and I will use it when I want to, because it's beautiful and amazing to be the harmonizer and the protect, you know, it's gorgeous. But there are other times when there is no way it is coming into the interaction. Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is one aspect. And then to me it's been really difficult in some situations working with men that were not used to having at the table, in a, let's say, pathetic situation, having a woman. So what happened, and I'm not going to be whining about it, but it's a fact that even if I was speaking, they were not looking at me. Even if I was speaking, the questions were made to my male colleagues, even if I was speaking. So that happens a lot. And it happens especially if I'm the only woman in the room, and this happens again a lot since I'm working in a male-dominated industry in a male-dominated sector, since I'm an engineer. So, and you know, in Italy we've got this habit when we are very formal working with other people, we say dottore, ingegnere, etc. When I'm lucky, I'm dottoressa. It means I'm graduated, okay? Otherwise, they call me signora, like ma'am, okay? When I feel particularly nasty, I say, oh, just to let you know, I'm an engineer. But you know...
But why, that's so, can I ask, like, why do you feel that's nasty? Like, isn't that just, this is the fact of the, isn't that just saying, this is who I am, can you call me that please? Isn't that educating them?
Yes, they do perceive it otherwise. Because every time I do it with a smile on my face, and just to let them know, the answers are not that positive. It's not, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Or, now that I know, I'm going to call it like this. But it doesn't happen. So what happens is that you leave it go. You just don't... Just don't think about it and go ahead. But I mean, in Italy, we know it's a situation that's usually like this.
Have you seen in your career? Have you seen it in any way improving?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It improved throughout the years. So really. It's getting better, and even more women are in executive managing top management positions. Even more women are studying engineering or STEM subjects, etc. So it's getting better. We're going to get there before or late. My point is we are a little bit slow in this kind of change, and this is one of the changes that are really dear to me. I am passionate about diversity, equality and inclusion. I would like to see a different world, and I work for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, the whole part of this, one of the reasons for this podcast is that, no, it's just to challenge what authority and power and expertise looks and sounds like, it's, and I think as well where we are now, we are at that place where for the men too, we're in this place where it's our conditioning that is preventing us from change effectively, I think, right? Because it's men behave in a certain way because they've been conditioned to behave in a certain way also. And the problem that we have with our conditioning is that 9 times out of 10 it's unconscious, and so they don't really even realize that they're talking over a woman unless somebody says to them, hey, do you, and it's not even saying I don't like it when you do that. It's saying, do you realise that you've just spoken over me? Do you know why you do that? And genuinely asking them if they know why they do it, so that they can just for a second, hopefully, self-reflect and go, oh shit, yeah, you're right. I didn't, that's sort of patterned behaviour. That's me being idealistic, right? But I think that's what needs to happen. No? We need to help people raise consciousness around behaviour.
I think that we need to make this conversation.
Yes.
Maybe also not specifically related to the behavior that just happened, because in that situation, I in my experience, I feel that they try to, okay, no, you are saying that I did something wrong. I didn't. I'm not sexist.
They don't like to be accused of being sexist. Is that
exactly? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The point is that I think that if you try to correct them, educate them whenever they say something sexist, the reaction that I've seen in my experience is to put a distance between themselves and this kind of mistake. So I think that is a conversation that needs to be done whenever we can. But to make them realize, maybe watching other men doing sexist comments, etc., can help to make them understand. Because what I see is that when you point out something like this, usually they say, oh, but you can't say anything.
Yeah, this is the
immediate reaction is, well, but you get offended. Why are you getting offended by what I'm saying?
So that is a classic case of deflection, where, and this is what happens all the time, is that there'll be a topic on the table that we're discussing, and what a woman wants to talk about will be hijacked, and the conversation will be taken over here somewhere else. And one of the things that we need to be learning to do, this is something that I work with clients as well, is how you keep a person on the conversation that you want to be talking about until you get the resolution that you want. Because we're not good at that because of our conditioning, right? We don't feel comfortable doing that because of the good girl thing. But this is all of this is what needs to kind of change in the way that we move through the world, right? And part of that is being able to say, okay, staying on the topic like that, because as soon as they start to go, well, they're diverting, and it's like, hang on, we're not talking about that. We might need to have that conversation. That conversation might need to happen, but right now we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. Can we finish this and then we can talk about that? Because they're very good, right? And because of how we're conditioned, we go, oh, okay, we don't want to, because we don't want to rock the boat, It's so interesting. I think it's so interesting.
Yeah, these are dynamics that sometimes stand in the way of reaching the goal of making people understand.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, I do believe, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I do believe that the majority of people, men and women these days, they do want to see equality. Like they are invested in that, in parity. There is, I think there is a real honest desire for that, because it's been proven, it's, you know, in so many different ways how beneficial it is, right? In terms of professionally and personally, right? But I think that a lot of the time men don't even realise what they're doing. They don't, because it's conditioning. In the same way, you know, we apologise for things, or we don't, the same way that we, you know, we don't want to think, we don't want someone to think we're not nice.
Yeah, or the way in which we strive for perfection.
It's
while they are moving on, even if they make mistakes, and I really admire that.
I mean, that is such deep conditioning, I think, right? That we've been rewarded differently. Women have been rewarded for how we are. Men have been rewarded for what they do. And so they're taught to be brave. They're taught to be brave, make mistakes, who cares, go for it. That's what they're rewarded for. And we're rewarded for caution, be cautious, you know, be careful. You have to be careful, we're trained, you know, be careful. That's what we teach our girls. And this is where we are now. I just think we're in this, like, all of this is happening in the subconscious, you know, and it's so deep. It's centuries of, you know, a learned behaviour. And we're at this place where all of this needs to come out, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
For everyone.
You know,
for
but it has... For everybody, yeah. And it's the change thing, right? It goes back to what you were saying at the beginning. It's connected to change. And it's, okay, how do we do this in
the right way?
It means having difficult conversations, for sure.
Exactly.
But in a compassionate way, I think.
Exactly. So what would you say, what lessons have you learned throughout your professional career that have had a positive impact on the way that you communicate? What have you learned over the years of different strategies and different, how to manage things, and what can you share with us?
Well, to me, it's been eye-opening when somebody taught me this point explanation point method. So
okay.
you make a point.
Tell me.
You make a point. You say, okay, to me, let's say the sky is blue. As simple as that. That's the point. The sky is blue because today is a wonderful day. It's midday now, and I don't know. But you explain why the sky is blue. Why is that you want to state that point, and then you repeat your point. Just point, explanation, point. Easy peasy, I would say, but very effective, because really, if you prepare, so be prepared, but don't make preparation or excessive practice stop you. So be prepared. Because you need to be, I need to be very aware of what I want to say. What is the message? So what's your point? Because you want to convince others to make them understand you and come with you, walk with you towards the direction. So to be effective, point, explanation, point, I think it's
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I love what you said there, like, know what it is that you want to say and put, what is your message? Like, I love that, Manuela. You know what you've got, what you want to be contributing. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah.
Start with the goal in mind. Because sometimes what happens is that maybe you get carried on in the conversation. Maybe someone hits some soft spots, I don't know, and then you react. You have some default responses, okay? Because if someone touches you in that point, it's a default that you start, and maybe you are not going where you want to go because of that. So take a step back, try to see that someone is going to is actually touching you in your soft spot because they know it eventually.
Yeah, also.
And so try to make a step back and refocus. If someone is diverting, as you said, acknowledge and go in a different direction.
In your industry, how are people who speak English as a second language treated generally?
In Italy, we are not very good English speakers in general. Okay. We used to, well, it's getting better. It's really getting better. Even in the way English is taught at school, in the way young people now are used to watch movies, read books, listen to content in English. So it's really getting better. But if I think about my daily work and what happens daily at work, we are more or less unicorns. So if they need you, so you are the one who's speaking because they can't. But if they don't, it's like, I mean, it's like a secret superpower.
My last few questions really are about advice that you would give to women who speak English as their second language. Like, what advice would you give to them?
Practice a lot, as much as you can, but don't be afraid, or rather feel the fear of making mistakes, but do it anyway. Do it anyway.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Because if you feel stopped or you freeze or you for fear of making mistakes, you're not effective and you just stay in your position. You don't change things. You don't dance on the edge of your sphere of authority. You just stay in your comfort zone and you don't grow. So
be brave. Give it a try. And then if you were to think about giving advice to native speakers, what advice would you give to native speakers to help them make spaces more inclusive?
I would say learn from Sarah Jane and speak in a very clear
way.
In a clear way and slowly. I think that sometimes it happens that maybe native speakers are very quick in how they speak. So slow down a little bit and be clear, as much clear as you can for us is really useful.
I think it's just being considerate, isn't it? Really, it's considering the other people that are in the conversation. I think it's that, like, which we can all, that's not a good practice for everybody, right?
And I've noticed that especially English teachers, I happen to be a close friend of mine. Is an English teacher. She's from Scotland, and she as you are, she speaks very clearly and slowly and perfect. It's perfect for us because we can understand. We can also learn from native speakers because we want to learn. We want to get better and better in our use of English, so it helps us really learn better.
That actually I've never thought about that before, that teachers that have, because I was an English teacher for many years, and so I know how to talk to people who speak English as their second language. I know how to do it, because I did it for a long time and do it now. I still do it, and so it's kind of automatic in me. Whereas if people don't have a lot of experience of doing that, they don't know how to do it. So it's something that native speakers could... I'm talking about, the more that we're working internationally, the more it could be useful for native speakers to have a course that teaches them how to communicate with people who aren't native speakers. Because what usually happens is, who are the ones doing all the work? It's the people that are speaking English as their second language. They're the ones doing all the work, And it's not really fair. I don't think it's very fair, It's like...
Maybe I'll write a course for native speakers. Teach them
how to interact with foreign people.
Yeah, I might do that. It's interesting, though. Why not? We're trying to, we talk all the time about making spaces more inclusive, more diverse, but we need to actively do that. We need to intentionally have initiatives that facilitate that. Otherwise, it's impossible. It's not magic,
Yeah, I don't know. And this is a tiny step, but an important one.
Yeah, I feel the same, with when I think about the male-female experience, I feel the same there. Like, men need to be taught how to facilitate inclusion, because they haven't had to do it. So they can't be expected just to know by magic, they need to, it's training, right? Like, this is the thing, going back to the sort of the conditioning. We've been conditioned to read the room. And men haven't been.
Yeah, for sure. It's like an anthropologic inheritance, I would say, that we all have, and we need to be aware of that. It starts with awareness, to me.
What would you say to young Manuela? If you could go back and speak to 24-year-old Manuela at the start of your professional career, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, keep your boldness. You have it. And keep it. Because in time, I felt I've lost it a little bit. Now I'm getting back there. But there's been a period of my life in which I cared more about making people be at ease with me, working with me, and being the good girl, being the one you can trust always. And maybe I sacrificed boldness on the way. So I would say, keep it and cherish it and develop it, and don't be afraid, or feel the fear and do it anyway.
I love that, Manuela. So what did you think? Did you enjoy that as much as I did? I hope so. Please feel free to join the conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topics that we talked about today. And if you are a woman who speaks English as your second, third, fourth, fifth language, I really hope that you feel inspired to use your voice more. The world needs you more than ever. I would like to say an enormous thank you. Thank you to you for listening, and thank you to my guests who are always so generous, sharing their time and their experiences with us. I really, really appreciate all of you. I am on a mission to amplify the voices of women who speak English as their second, third or fourth, fifth language. For me, this project and all of my work really is about actively and intentionally redefining what power looks and sounds like, what power can be. I want to contribute to normalising hearing, power, expertise, authority in the voices of women particularly who speak English as their second, third, fourth, fifth language. If this is something that you would like to support, please like and subscribe. Share this podcast with your network. All of these little actions help to get visibility to the project. Also, feel free to contact me if you or the women in your organisation would benefit from power training, communication training in English. I am here to be of service. A link to my website is somewhere around. It's sarahjane.life. Okay, I hope to see you for the next episode. In the meantime, have a powerful few weeks.